considering divorce? Are you dealing with it now? Are you on the other side and not sure what comes next? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show with your host, Lisa C. Decker.
Hi, this is Lisa Decker, and I am the host of the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show, and welcome back for another show. Today, I am especially excited to have a special guest with us, Lynn Whitbeck, and she is the Queen of Sales. So today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different in the world of divorce, but I think it's very applicable because many people that I have counseled over my 14 years as a certified divorce financial analyst have talked about maybe opening their own business or a side hustle of some sort. And they're just not sure where to begin. And they're afraid of that word sales, right? And it doesn't have to be scary, but it can feel kind of icky at times. So Lynn is an expert in sales. And like I said, she is the queen of sales. So we are very lucky to have her here today. So we know that many people facing divorce, the challenge of divorce, want to become financially independent as they go through this process from their spouse and they're starting over. And if you've thought about becoming your own boss, you're in the right place today. So Lynn Whitbeck helps business owners and entrepreneurs to ignite winning sales teams because most are chasing down clients. And that is not the way you want to do this. They're stuck in a chaotic sales cycle and they lack client retention, conversions, and profits. That's a lot of stuff to talk about today. This is going to be an interesting call. So Lynn is the founder and CEO of Petite to Queen, and you may have seen her in USA Today, HuffPost, Chicago Tribune, and the Win-Win Women's Network because she is a fellow host. I'm so sorry. That's live TV, folks. Today, she's going to help us better understand the sales process so you can gain confidence and have tools you can use as you grow your own business. So, Lynn, so excited to have you here today. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how what you do can relate to folks going through divorce. How can they apply this in their lives? And, you know, I just want to say this before we start. I think sales applies to everything in life because you are selling yourself every day, whether you're selling yourself to your spouse and trying to convince them of something or your kids to work with what you want, whatever it is, even in your job that you currently have or don't have, we all do sales every day. We just don't realize it. So how can people who are in this new phase of their lives, maybe they've never had a business before, how can they begin to think of this as something not so overwhelming? Where do they begin?
Well, and I thank you so much for having me on the show today, Lisa. And I concur. I mean, I'm very passionate about sales, and you do use sales every day of your life, whether you think you are or not. And for those women also who just want to get a leg up in their career, they want to get a promotion, they want to get more responsibility. You're still selling yourself to your boss, to the executives, and your ideas to your peers. So you do use these skills all the time. If you are looking to either start a business or you have a business that you've got going, it could be a side hustle, whatever your space is. One of the key things that you really need to evaluate is your strategy for your sales, because your business isn't going to survive if you don't sell anything. Sales is the lifeblood of any organization. And I don't care if you're Apple or you're a small mom and pop dry cleaner, anywhere in between, you have to sell things and you have to sell your products and services to stay in business. So that is really the first place to start is your sales strategy. And the number one thing to start with sales strategy is to think like your client. What do they want, need, or lack? Why does it matter to them? What kind of problem are they trying to solve or a concern they're trying to address? Because that's the nut, right? And then when they solve that and it matters to them, so they can what? just like with you, you enable women to empower themselves and to grow and to move to the next phase in their life, that excitement, and to re-embrace joy and everything the world has to offer for themselves. So, you have this incredibly brilliant so they can, right? And so when you really tap into the so they can of your clients, that's what they purchase. That's what they want. That is what they want, need, or lack. And that ultimately, that's how you want to structure your outreach to your clients. So that includes everything from how you, that they can recognize when they come on your website that you're speaking to them, that the content that you have available, like for the lead magnets, it's something they would want, it makes sense, and that you lead them through their client journey, that they get to know more about you, and that they become, down that journey, they become clients. And then once they are clients, that client thinking, I also want to point out, it does change and alter throughout the relationship, because your clients get to know you better. They've begun to trust you. They start working with you. And now it's a different phase that you're continuing to nurture them, and that in turn asking for referrals that they bring back into your business, and they bring more business to you, right, through those referrals. So you want to be very cognizant that you're thinking through the client, thinking through the journey that your client will go on, that you're working with. And you phrase the outreach, the materials that you have, your follow-up. Remember, fortune is in the follow-up. All of that is built around that client thinking. And the other point that's very important, and I think this addresses, Lisa, what you said, that some people think of sales as icky or slimy. That's why my show is called Get More Clients. But here's the thing. If you come with worthy intent, you can truly serve and help your clients. You have a moral obligation to do so. And in helping them, it's a transaction of a service or product. You will be compensated for that. And you deserve to be paid what you're worth, right? And they deserve to get that product or service so they can get that so they can, right? Whatever that happens to be. And so when you approach it from that perspective, I want you to flip the switch. You're not trying to sell them anything. You are guiding them to a decision so that they can have that so they can have more impact in their own life, in their business, in their community. That's what you're doing. And it's a gift, really. So I want everyone to rethink what you're doing and what your purpose is. And when you come with worthy intent and you're genuine and authentic, people can tell, and they feel that, they see that, they can taste it.
I love that. And, giving them little bites of what's to come so they can is a great way for them to take little taste of your products and services at a time. I just love that whole description that you gave, and it makes so much sense. Women especially tend to doubt their self-worth and don't feel comfortable charging for the gifts that they bring to the world. And we need to change that. We need to change that attitude and that dialogue, because if we don't shine, then we're not helping others, and they want to shine as well. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. And so tell folks who maybe are just starting on this journey or contemplating a business idea, what are some of the initial things they can do? You talk about your clients can do, but what if they really don't understand who their ideal client is? Because I believe that's our foundation. We have to understand who our ideal client is before we can even start reaching out to them and sending them messages and attracting them into our lives. How can they assess that part of all of this, the beginning of the sales cycle?
Yeah, so at the very beginning, obviously, if you have a passion and something that you want to do, that you want to help others and create this impact in the world, then that's a first starting point. What is it that you want to do? you know, then you want to start doing some market research, and that's literally Google is your friend. You know, you can put queries in there, see what comes up. You can ask your friends and family. You can put this out on other social media. What do people think about this? And get some input. You can also talk to past either peers, working relationships, clients, if you've been in this, even if you're thinking about a completely new business and you're pivoting, to get that, you know, a 30-minute interview to get feedback on, you know, to validate your concept for the idea. A great thing, there's some tools that besides Google being your friend, you can also use Also Asked and Answer the Public. Those are two tools that allow you to find out what the long tail searches are that people are typing into Google. And so you can take a small subject line, such as divorce support, right? And you could put that in and you could see what people are actually typing into Google to find out about. And so that sort of gives you this idea about, okay, well, you know, how active are people? They looking for these solutions or this idea, right? And from there, now you've got built out, okay, yeah, this is great. This is good proof of concept. This is the business, is the passion I want to improve. And then it's like, well, how many people, what type of market is out there? And so that's another thing that you can really, is even if you're going to niche down, you know, and let's say you're working for divorced women who are in the US, you know, women who are, maybe you've decided to really target a specific age demographic, you know, or a specific, even a regional area. I mean, all these different things. There are so many statistics that are available through the government, through the Bureau of Labor, and all kinds of areas that you can sort of narrow down, you know, that, yeah, there's a large group of people, you know, because if there's only 1,000 people on the planet who want this type of product or service, it's going to be sort of hard to get to those 1,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. You know, but if there's tens and hundreds of thousands, then it's not going to be difficult to make those connections because they're actively searching for this type of information and support.
Oh,
so
that's
then,
really nice. Make sure you have a market before you put all this effort into it.
Yeah, exactly. And then where do they hang out in bunches, right? So where would you be able to find them, right? And so as you're working on that ideal client, you've got this perspective. Now go through and now start through what are you going to be doing? How are you going to be serving and helping them? And then map out that client thinking and go through that exercise. And from that exercise, now you go back and you tap into what you do and how it fits what the client needs. And you may need to make some adjustments. And now, once again, now you're going to verify that, do some additional work to make sure you've got that client thinking aligned. There's always a gap between your thinking like the client, what you think they want, because, you know, you're doing your best, and what they actually think. But once you've got that built out, now you can do like 7 interviews. Get my fingers right here. I don't think they were still right. 7 interviews. If you can do more, that's great. But really, you're looking for people who would fit that category. You can find them in Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, meetups. They're everywhere. And it's not a sales conversation at all. This is a market research fact-finding conversation. And you can also write an article, a blog post about the information that you receive and pull quotes from that, because you'll record it virtually so that you also have some video snippets that you can use. You're going to repurpose this a whole bunch of ways. All right. So they have to agree to be videotaped, and that you'll be able to use their quotes in the article that you're going to generate for this research. And then you'll get that information from them. And that's going to identify those gaps that you didn't see, the blind spots. And something that you thought was, oh, wow, everybody's going to want this. You discover like, oh, no. Yeah. So, but you'll find that you're halfway there already, you know, so now it's just refining that. Now you've got this information, you can put the blog post together, right? You can repurpose it into a checklist. You can repurpose it into video snippets. You can repurpose it into quotes, highlighting these individuals and putting them out and tagging them. That, you know, so you're also building a relationship with these 7 people that you interviewed, right? So you're doing all that. Now you've got that foundation for your sales strategy to really tie into who is your ideal client avatar. And then there's the whole exercise for that. And you may think, wow, this is a whole lot of work. Well, it really isn't. You can do this in a couple of weeks. Okay. But advantage is that now you have a really good plan, that foundation that you need to go to market.
And that foundation is so important, because I've seen entrepreneurs and myself in the beginning, not have that foundation, just kind of winging it, figuring it out as you go, right? And it just makes the road a lot longer. And so having a solid foundation, whether you're getting a divorce or starting a new business or whatever it is, have a rock solid foundation to build upon. It really does help you have success in a shorter amount of time. And, let's face it, a lot of small businesses don't make it after the first couple of years, right? So you can go through all of this work and put time and money and energy and your dreams into it. But if you haven't set that strong foundation, you're setting yourself up for failure in many cases. So let's help you talk about, let's talk about how to help people have that strong foundation. What is the most important element of their sales strategy success? The most important.
Wow. That's that client thinking, and then follow-up. The follow-up is the number one piece in sales that if you do not follow up, you are not going to close clients. People are not ready to make a decision instantly. You have to have a follow-up process and sequence to nurture and cultivate the relationship to guide them to a decision. And the stats around follow-up are absolutely, mind-blowing about how many people don't even follow up once. Back in my corporate career days, that was one of the things that when I was working with my clients, like the VPs would tell me that the number one thing is they would meet people at events or conventions. They would, do some kind of, they'd have a meeting with them once and they never followed up. And it's like, well, you're not going to, it's like a one hit wonder or something, right? I mean, that just doesn't happen. And that means that you're leaving all these potential people that you can be helping. You've done them a disservice because you're not following up and making sure that they're continuing to be nurtured. And in some cases, it takes people a while to move from where they are, to recognize they need help, to taking action to get that help. All right. And so they also have to make a little bit of a journey and to say, yeah, I need this. I want this. I got to have it. Right. And so that's what the follow-up does for you. And follow-up comes in a lot of different ways. It's not just sending out drip emails. Please don't do that. It's got to be personalized. It's got to come in a lot of different mediums, how you make those connections. And yes, email is one of them, but you need to mix it up and how you're doing that. And with those people that you really felt like you've been able to meet with them, also, where are they at in the sales cycle? When you've had a conversation with them, you need to move them into that channel where you're going to be having more personalized content that's being delivered to them to follow up, to move the conversation forward. And I talk about a triumphant triangle. And this is a piece that I train on, that the strategy is that you plan out what the communication is, that you're going to be delivering value. And then you put it into an email and you lead with what the value is. So in your case, it could be, the tips to double check all of your banking accounts and, what you need to go through. So maybe something like that. I was never divorced. My husband passed away, but something, having friends, let's say that's what you put together. And then you want to lead with that. We've got this fantastic new resource. It does, this is why it matters to you. This is what it does. This is how you can get it. Oh, and by the way, this is Lynn Whitbeck, right? With, or in your case, Lisa Decker. But the whole point is that you've put this together. Now you've had a connection with them. You've already talked with them. You phone them. You're going to basically read your email, but in a, not in a reading the script kind of way. So you know what you're going to say, and you are going to go through that with enthusiasm and excitement about what you have to help them move forward, thinking that you're going to get their voicemail, which you probably will. And then at the end, you slow your cadence down. This is Lynn, and that's your Lynn Whitbeck. And then you leave your information. So you slow your, when you say Lynn, that triggers you to slow down so that a real human being, and 90% of human beings have some form of dyslexia, can actually write down your digits, or your email if they want to get back to you without feeling incredibly frustrated that they have to listen to a message 9 times. Okay. And they usually don't. All right. So then 3 days later, you message them with this same information. And that's wherever they tend to live. Facebook Messenger, if you're going to be using LinkedIn messaging, however that is, you can even just send them a text message with the information. But essentially, it's the same piece of information. And when you plan out your sales strategy, you'll actually develop these scripts, and you'll know what are the different follow-up pieces that you have to offer. And you'll have that. So it's not like you're making this up on the fly, because you actually invested the time to plan it. And now you just go, oh, I'm going to pick this off the shelf. It's sort of like going into your closet and picking, what blouse am I going to put on today? Or top in my case, right?
Right.
And so it's like, because I've got these all, and I've got them all coordinated, and I've got them all laid out. That's the one I want, quick and easy. And so when you do that, that's very, very powerful, because also that triangle, it's the same information, but delivered a different way. Because sometimes people actually have to hear something multiple times. And even if they don't act on it, you were delivering value. You were giving them something that they wanted, needed, or lacked that matters to them, so they can sort of figure out, get their ducks in a row, that all their accounts and all the information they need, so that they can be watching that, right? And making sure that it's all protected, especially when it comes to assets, knowing from some friends' experience being blindsided by something like that. So
Is that way sometimes? Yes.
Yeah. So, but those are the types of things that can be really helpful. And that is what you want to be doing. And that for follow-up, I'm going to tell you a little story. So I have used this technique and always delivering value in the follow-up. And in my corporate days, my 12th follow-up was to send a meeting invitation for a lunch. Now, this was where I would be flying all over the country. So I'd be setting up, I'd set a lunch, I'd look at my calendar and go, okay, well, I'm going to just set it here. I'd have to fly into the city, and I would do that. And if I got to that 12th step of follow-up, and they would accept, or they'd come back and say, oh, can we do it this date? And it was like, they got to eat lunch, right? And then I would fly in and have a meeting, and they would end up being 3-hour meetings, it would be, well, you kept delivering all this value, and I wanted to get back to you. And these are people I'd already had a connection with. I'd had at least one meeting with. They were interested. I knew they were interested. I knew I could help them.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to give up on them. And so that moved the conversation hugely forward. So I worked with a 13-step follow-up plan for those 13 touches. And sometimes I actually almost never had to go to 13, but that 12th one, sometimes I had to go to that 12th one, and I would fly in and have a lunch. So.
Wow. Well, I don't know what the folks who are watching this are looking at as far as a service or product, but no matter what it is, small or large, the process is still the same. And having that system in place is so vitally important. And I'll piggyback on what you told here as far as share a story. I have had clients on my email list, my e-blast and e-zine, for many, 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 many years. The longest one was a client who told me that they had been receiving my e-zine for 8 years. before they made the decision to finally divorce. And they told me that it was because I sent out regular communications, that I stayed top of mind, and because there was value. You talk about value. These cannot be just talking all about how great you are. It's what can you do for your client? And because the value was there, they continued to read and open the emails, which is vitally important to get them read. And they remembered when they finally got to the point where they were ready for that decision. And so, you know, you just don't know how long, especially in a very sensitive matter like divorce. Sometimes it takes people a very long time. Sometimes they come to me and they're ready to go. They've been thinking about it a long time, but they're ready to go. And other times they've been there for years, watching and listening and learning. Yeah. And that is part of sales. And it took me a long time, Lynn, to overcome that icky feeling about sales. I never liked the feeling of it. But when I realized that I had some kind of service that was unique, that was a way to help people in a way that there's very few people doing it out there, and that by holding back, I wasn't helping people as much as I could be. When I realized the gift that I had to give to people in the services that I offer, and so many people who do divorce work feel this way, it comes from their heart center. When you come from that place, you're not selling, you're helping. And yes, you deserve to be compensated. We all deserve to be compensated for the gifts that we bring to the world. So get over that, folks. It's time to get out there and bring your gifts to the world and to be richly rewarded for that. There's nothing wrong with that. When you are giving a valuable exchange, everyone wins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a growth mindset, you know, to flip the switch, start thinking about it differently.
Yes, absolutely. So what is the easiest and fastest way to shorten that sales cycle? You know, a lot of people are maybe listening and going, I don't have 8 years to wait for a client, right? I've been at this a while, folks, and it's probably not going to take you that long. But what is the fastest way that people can get ramped up and get started with things?
Well, obviously, when you have put your sales strategy in place and you're following that, and you're speaking to people in the way that's going to attract them, you're going to be able to attract, connect, cultivate, and convert much quicker. So when you've done that, you've actually done the strategic planning, and then you execute on it. The second piece is that as you acquire clients or past clients that you have, you want referrals. You need to ask for referrals. You need to seed referrals the very first time that you meet with people, and then throughout their client journey, so that by the time that they are a client, they're all ready for you to ask for a referral. Okay. And so it really requires you to seed it. You need to earn the right, and you must ask for the referral, and then you want to recognize and reward that behavior. Referrals are incredibly effective for speeding up your sales cycle. They are more profitable. And once someone has become a referral resource for you, they are 4 times more likely to continue to give you referrals. And so that means their value as a client, of course, is you can actually increase your lifetime client value in that process as well. But if you've delivered an incredible experience and the results, then in whatever the product or service that you have, then you deserve a referral, and they want to give you a referral because they want other people to have the same experience that they had. And that type of direct word of mouth or recommendation of a referral is incredibly powerful. Those sales convert at a much higher rate and much faster. And in fact, in some environments, I mean, people won't even look at other alternatives. They'll go, well, Sally told me to call Lisa. You know, she's had this incredible experience with her. That's good enough for me. You know, I need help. I'm calling Lisa.
Okay, I need to stop right here and say one thing. In the world of divorce, a lot of people get referrals from their best friend's neighbor's sister's cousin. And that's not the kind of referral we're talking about, folks, because that's a danger zone. You don't know if that person has the same situation as you, and you may end up with an attorney who is not a good fit. So be careful with your referrals in the world of divorce. But I do agree with you wholeheartedly, Lynn, that a referral one-on-one, the person who has experienced the service themselves, the professional that you work with who has sent you clients, and the clients have come back with good feedback, with great feedback. Those are the kind of referrals that you're looking for. They will stand the test of time, and they will be your biggest supporters and cheerleaders out there telling other folks, hey, you've got to try this. This is a new way. This is a different sort of experience. And that most of my business is based on referrals. And so I truly agree with you about the power of that. And that means you have to give a good experience to begin with. You have to be attentive to your client's needs, and you just have to ask. As you mentioned, many of us are afraid to ask. So don't be afraid to ask for the testimonial, for the referrals, and then take care of the people who refer you.
Yeah, absolutely. You must recognize and reward. I want to piggyback. Don't ask, don't get. Okay. You've got to ask for help for whatever that is, whether it's helping clean up the dishes after dinner or asking a client for a referral when they've had a great experience. And what's the worst that can happen? They say no. I mean, come on, people, let's go through that scenario. Well, what's the worst case? Look it in the eye, okay, they say no, that's all right. It's not going to destroy me. What's the best case scenario? They go, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you to ask. I've got 10 different people that I need to refer to you right now. Let's get on the phone. Let's three-way them, okay. What's most likely to happen? Yeah, I do know some people. Let me noodle it and I will get back to you, or I'll send an email. What's the best way to make the connection for you? Right? So walk through that scenario. And whenever you're facing something, because you need to look the fear in the eye that's holding you back, because that's how you grow. And that's how you say, I have a choice. I have a choice. And my choice is I can look the fear in the face and say, well, that's the worst thing that can happen. Well, what's most likely to happen? All right. So that you can take that leap.
That's a great way of thinking about it. What's the worst thing that can happen? They don't do anything. You move on to the next. So what are some good closing questions? Now you've set your foundation, you've taken your client through this journey with you, and they've come to that moment in time when they're making a decision here. What are some ways to help them? I don't want to say close the sale, even though that's what it is, but to help them come to their own decision about this, right? Because we don't want people to be bullied into something or to feel icky about it when it's over and have buyer's remorse. When we're done, if we've done an effective job with leading someone through a client journey, I love it that clients come to their own decision. They say, this sounds perfect for me. How do I sign up? That's ideal. So what tips can you give us about that, Lynn?
Well, a classic, I use what I would call relationship closes. Some people call them soft closes, just sort of like soft skills, and yet they're the power skills that everyone's looking for, right? So one classic is sort of an either or. So you could say, would you like to get started next week or the week after? What's a better day for our weekly meetings for you? Tuesday mornings or Wednesday mornings? So that's an either or. And when they answer that, they've made the purchase, right? So it's a buying decision as well. And so that's part of the thing. You're guiding them to that decision. Would you prefer a monthly payment plan, or would you like to take advantage of a discount to pay for the program up front? and of course I'm just spitballing here, so off the cuff, as they say. So
That's the best stuff.
those are classic examples, and it has to fit whatever your business is.
Of course.
You know, I mean, back in the day when I sold commercial printing, I could say, would you like this on gloss paper or a matte finish? You know, and as soon as they told me, they'd made a decision. You know, do you want to add varnish to this? I mean, people, unless you've been in the commercial printing, you don't know what any of that means. But what I'm pointing out is that every business is unique. And so how they're going to do that is what's important. And
Yes.
they have to fit your business. And so with you, if you're providing coaching, it could be, would you like to get started? And let's say it's a group program. Would you like to get started this week in the group program or next week? You know, that's a great way to go. Would you prefer to go into the group program, or would private coaching be more comfortable for you? Right. And so once again, you're giving them an either or choice. Never give more than 3 choices. And in fact, 3 choices is sort of a magic formula for a good, better, best. And most people will go for the middle. So good, better, best. So maybe the good is a workshop, better is group coaching, the best is a private client relationship. And so, or private consulting, private, you know, in this world, right, for you. And those are the types of choices that you could also be providing them. And so but never go beyond that, and don't make them complicated. Don't have 3 choices that then have 3 choices that then have 3 choices. Because what happens is you actually push somebody into decision fatigue, and it becomes overwhelming, and they have to then, you kick in all these things like, oh, I have to think about this, I have to sort that out. It makes it too complicated. Yes. So there's a saying, keep it simple, stupid. I hope I didn't offend anyone, but that's it. Good, better, best. Don't go beyond 3. And there needs to be 3 clear things. Now, obviously you could have a different way. They could pay it up front, or they could make a payment plan, or they could pay via ACH, or they could pay via credit card with, you know, so those types of things are okay. But once again, keep that pretty limited, because they've purchased. Now it's just a matter of how they're going to pay for it.
Right. It reminds me of like a photographer, right? They offer a small package, a medium-sized package, or you can get the digital and print everything yourself, right? So, you know, you just have to think for your industry or your profession or whatever kind of work or products or services that you're bringing to the world. How can you offer them in a distinct number of ways so that you get more yeses and you serve more people? And sometimes people will start with the smallest level to get a taste, to see if this is someone that they want to spend more money with, that they want to be involved with, that they get value on that initial purchase. So yeah, these are building blocks, and you're offering more of you to your clients with each.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect point. People do want to take a sip, and you also need to give them the option to be able to get on and off the bus. So, and that could be like things that are in bite-sized pieces, like workshops, that they can pay for a workshop, see what they think, then they can pay for, you know, a boot camp, then they can pay for a retreat. You know, that's another escalation, right?
Right. Right. There's so many ways that you can wrap this up, folks. You just have to start thinking about what are your clients' needs and how do you fulfill those for them? How do you take care of the things that are keeping them up at night? How do you serve them in those ways? How do you help them fix their problems? It's all comes down to what's in it for them. Yeah. Not so much what's in it for me. And that's one thing that I see when I am coaching professionals on marketing at times that I do. Their websites, for instance, you know, let's start with a website. People spend so much time designing a website and, you know, their logo and everything else, but they don't plan for all these other things. And they, you know, may take a year or 2 to get that just perfect. In the meantime, they missed a lot of people that they could have been serving. And when I go to their website and I look, it's all about them. Yeah. Here's why I'm great. Here's why you should use me. Here's what I've done in my life. But it doesn't speak to the ideal client. And I find this over and over and over again. So yes, you need to let the client know why they should work with you, but it comes at the end, as you talked about, Lynn. Up front, you need to capture their attention because they're going to leave your site or your email or whatever it is if you don't captivate their interest right from the start.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I like to point out when people are looking at that is there's a lot of research that has been done, and you can have a really ugly website, but as long as the content speaks to the audience, the audience that you want, they'll stay on the website. They'll actually absorb the content. And you can have the most beautiful, flashy, gorgeous site in the world, but if it doesn't speak to them, they leave. Okay. So and I know that I struggle with that, like the aesthetics, and my website is always a work in progress. So
all of us. I've been through.
I spend too much time working with clients.
Yeah, right.
On my own business, right?
Yeah, but I get it. I've been through 5 or 6 iterations of a website since, in 14 years. You have to change with the times and, update. You don't want to be seen as a stale website either, where you're not posting things frequently and such like that. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into all of this. It's not just, having a product or a service. You've got a lot of balls to put in the air, but that's another show.
Yeah, it's another show.
About this all day long because there's so much involved, and not to scare anybody away who's looking to start their own business. But this is about empowering you, making sure that you get started on the right foot so that you can have the best chance for success and for helping others who need the gifts that you bring to the world. Well, one of the biggest things that I've seen over time is objections. When people are confused, or when they are not sure, or when they just don't know that they want to make a commitment, they'll come up with all kinds of objections and put those up as a roadblock. What are your best methods of handling objections and helping people to move forward for the services or products that they really need to help them with their issues?
Well, the first thing is you need an objection bank. You need to figure out what are all the objections that you're likely to be confronted with, right? There are ways that you can also tie in answering objections earlier in the process, so you can actually answer objections in content, in a lead magnet, and in a number of different ways, right? And so if you know what those most likely objections are, and then what's the best for your product or service to answer those. Common ones are, I'm too busy, right now, or, I can't wait, forever to get this started. I need results right now, right? Or I don't have the money. I mean, there's all kinds of really standard objections. And then how you answer them, of course, depends on your business. So for me, I need to get this, I need results immediately. I need results now. And then it's like, well, that's the whole point. Everything I do is designed for you to implement on the fly. So you are implementing and receiving results from day one. You're not having to build something all out and then suddenly turn it on and whoo, look at this, it's shiny. We're actually doing the work as you go. And there's so many different ways that you can answer some of these things. Sometimes it is truly they can't afford it. Well, can they afford some other different way to stay connected? And that they're in such a place right now that they need to, they can still, the thing is about not having enough money. In most cases, people make decisions on how they're going to spend their money, and so and also having an affordable payment option or an affordable option, a group program, especially if you're doing some kind of a coaching piece. But even for other types of products or services, you can have ways that they can get a lower cost entry so they can start seeing results. And as they see results and then they start financially doing better, then they can make more investment. But there are times where people just truly can't afford it. Well, there's still ways they can stay connected to you. And as things change for them, or they reorganize their priorities, then they can't afford it. So part of it is there's a money mindset that goes on. And so timing is another one. It's like, I don't have enough time. Well, we choose how we're going to spend our time. And that's one of the ways that I would talk about that, is that, you know, you can choose to allocate time so that you can improve your sales strategy. You can start getting results that will drive revenue, that will drive profit. And in turn, that's going to, because you're going to figure out how to do things more effectively, you're going to create processes and systems that will save you time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be saving time, which is money, and you're going to be making money. And you're going to be able to be delivering impact for your clients. So it's just a way of, for every single business, you're going to need to walk through that and think about it. Once again, think about it in terms of the client. You know, what do they want, need, or lack? And if you truly believe they need your product or service, you're not going to force feed it to them, but give them a way that they can. So for your clients, they can watch your TV show. If they can't afford to work with you right now, or they're not ready, the timing's off, they can watch the TV show. They can binge watch it, in fact, so that they can get help, so that they can start rethinking where they're at and what the future holds for them.
Oh, wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, we put out a lot of free resources. We have a divorce financial fitness kit that can be downloaded at divorcemoneymatters.com, and it has a working spreadsheet of all the documents that you need to gather and a list of 50 questions to ask an attorney that you may not even know to ask, as well as an ebook. And at Divorce Town USA, we have a divorce roadmap and an ebook that goes with that to help you understand your options. And that information alone is helpful to people who may not have resources. So putting free things out there is a good thing to do. It's good karma, and it also comes back in so many ways. And I don't do it because it's you know, just a lead magnet. I do it because I want people to be informed. When you come at these things from your heart, and then you put in place sound strategies like Lynn has shared with us here today, you have a much greater chance for success. Because when you want to help elevate other people from where they are, no matter where that is, you will find success. You can't lose if you're doing the right things. And I agree with you wholeheartedly about all of the different ways of meeting clients' needs. We have several different flat fee packages that we offer to clients. I mostly work with couples as a financial neutral, something very different than most places do. And, you know, the flat fee itself is different. So how can you differentiate yourself from your competitors, from other people out there when you're building your product and services? Look at that as well. Lynn, this show has been so fascinating. I love talking about these kinds of things. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life in different industries, and I could talk shop all day long to help other people who want to go out there into the world. And you know, this topic is so timely because with COVID, many workers have not gone back to work. They're out there building their own businesses, and they need to know these things. So I hope that everybody has found this to be helpful today. Whether you're getting divorced or not, this is great information. Lynn, why don't you wrap us up here by sharing some final thoughts, and then, you know, how can folks find you?
Absolutely. Well, I want to reiterate, I love what you said about your heart. That's the worthy intent. And when you have that, and you provide your product or service to your client, I want everyone to remember you're creating a ripple. And that ripple is in their business and their personal life, for their company, for their team members that are there, for their clients, for their community. And those ripples then keep growing into a beautiful wave. So keep that in mind. You can find me at petitequeen.com. We also have tons of resources that are available. And I'm the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn. So
really? Wow. That's amazing. I
have one of those names, right? I guess I don't know, is it luck or what?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I have to use my middle initial. There's a lot of Lisa Deckers in the world. Oh my goodness. Well, Lynn, this has been a fascinating topic, and I hope we can expand upon this and bring more information to folks in the future, because again, sales doesn't have to be icky. This is about bringing your gifts to the world and helping people who need what you do, what your special gifts are. Each of us has something unique within us. And if you are called to be an entrepreneur, to offer a product or a service, dig deep in the beginning, get your foundation right, and it will make everything after that follow so much more smoothly. And Lynn, again, tell everyone how they can reach you.
You can go to our website at petite2queen, the digit 2, queen.com, or you can find me at LinkedIn, and that's Lynn Whitbeck.
All right. And as a fellow Win-Win Women's Network host, I thank you for being here today. This has been a really fun show, and I look forward to it again. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Lynn, for the excellent information you presented us today. Before we go, we want to make sure that all of you know where to access the amazing resources and products and services that Divorcetown USA has put in place to help you. As you see on your screen, at www.divorcetownusa, you can download the Divorcetown Roadmap that you see here, which includes an ebook explaining each of the options on this map so that you can choose what's best for you and your family and your finances, and so that you'll be able to access resources and professionals that you may need along the way during this important process. Also at Divorcetown USA, you can visit our article section, find a professional in the marketplace, which has many products and services that are popular and helpful as you're going through the divorce journey. We also want to make you aware of the Divorce Financial Fitness Kit, which you can download at www.divorcemoneymatters.com. This financial fitness kit will get you organized and help you get answers so that when you do start the process, or maybe if you're already in the middle, you can organize, get a better idea of what your finances are and what you may need, and even a list of 50 must-ask questions for when you meet with that family law attorney for the first time. We also want to tell you about the Divorce Help and Hope Support Group. This group is also sponsored by Divorcetown USA. You can access it directly through meetup.com, or you can go to divorcetownusa.com, go to the event section, and click on the link to the next meeting that we will have, which, by the way, is this week, July 7th at noon Eastern. Lastly, what do we have coming up next week? Next week, we're going to talk about how divorce changes the mortgage lending process. Very important topic for anyone with real estate or real estate issues. Definitely the mortgage lending process is much different for those going through divorce. So Tony, who is a certified divorce lending professional, will walk us through these steps and help us be better prepared. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us today. We want to thank Lisa, our host, and Lynn, our amazing guest, for all of the information brought to us today on the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show. Thank you all for joining, and we can't wait to see you next week.